Hey, good afternoon and welcome to our Producers Cooperative Country Christmas. We really appreciate you joining us this afternoon. We got a lot going on at the store here in Bryan. We've got a live nativity scene. The Campbell just showed up, so come down and see what it's all about. We've got some great specials going on as well. We've got a Purina Equitub. It's brand new to the market, and we're going to hear a talk about it. But it's $5 off on the 50-pound tub and $10 off on the 125-pound. So come take a look at that. And at that, I'd like to introduce Scott Campbell. He's with Purina. He's an equine specialist, and he is going to give you a talk on this new Equitub.
Thanks, Matt. Well, that's what they invited me here today for, and that was an awesome opportunity to try one out. They've got a really good price on the discount on the tub. Sounds like for this special. So I wanted to come in and kind of tell everybody a little more about these tubs. We talked about them once before, but I think we got a little more information on them now. We've had them out in the field for roughly probably 3 weeks now since they got out in the field in November. So we're really hearing some good things about them from consumers, and people are really liking how they perform. So let's kind of get into it. We'll talk a little bit about the whole part of how these things work, how you manage them, and what they're really intended for. Okay, so just to kind of give you a overview of what they have in them, they're a fully full supplement. They're not just say a protein supplement. They're not just a mineral supplement. These are a feed in a tub type supplement, a self-fed feed supplement. So they also contains some very cool things that we normally don't see in a lot of these kind of products. And one of them would be Clarifly. So you have a feed through fly control that would help in the times when flies are difficult. And just so you know, you need to have that on board before fly season really hits. But these we'll get into more about the fly control here in a bit. The other thing that's really neat about it is that it contains Outlast, which is our patented gastric buffer. It is super effective on keeping the acidity of that stomach buffered to a neutral area and hopefully preventing the onset of gastric ulcers. So, and then on the third thing we have in it is the Amplify Fat Nugget, which is a very high quality fat supplement that we put in a lot of our feeds, like Omeline, Equine Senior, Strategy, Healthy Edge. They all have the Amplify Fat Nugget in them as well. And this Amplify is a 30% fat. It's a palm oil, rice bran, flaxseed mixture of that. So you've got omega-3s and omega-6 fatty acids. This tub will help you help provide all the nutrients needed beyond what your forage is providing. So, no matter what, you need to have some type of fiber for your horses. So whether it be, bale hay in a dry lot or a pasture situation, these tubs work well for that. And another big thing with these tubs that's very unique, in my opinion, is the fact that they're made in an ionophore-free facility. That's quite frankly the reason why we hadn't had a horse tub in quite a while, is because we never had a place to make them. All of our horse products are made in ionophore-free facilities across the country, just so we can just have that layer of security that your horse isn't going to be have a mishap due to somebody made a mistake in a feed mill. So that means all these horse products are made where there are none of these ionophores or anything like those that are very helpful in cattle beef production and things, but they're very lethal to horses. So we just play it safe from that perspective, and we just don't have that in those feed mills where any human error could take place. So that's kind of what we're really proud about these tubs, that they are made where we can tell you without a doubt they are fully safe for horses, and you don't have to worry about the ionophores. So get into a little more of that. What does it look like? A lot of horse people really haven't fed a horse tub, so it's kind of new. So there's a lot to learn about this from a horse owner's standpoint. Cattlemen have certainly been feeding tubs for decades, and they're very, very economical. They're very labor, the labor part of it's really good. So, we've been doing tubs for a long time. We just haven't done necessarily with Purina horse tubs in a while. So these are the new ones, and when you get them, they come in a 55-pound tub or a 125-pound tub. They all come with a lid on them, so they'll have a lid and keep them sealed up. Um, the when you do take the lid off, they'll look very shiny, but once your horse licks on them a little bit, you'll actually start seeing the grain. You'll be able to see the amplify fat nugget in there. So it's pretty cool looking the way it is, and it's designed to be that way. So let's look at the science here a little bit. We spend a good bit of time at Purina on developing these products, and there's no such thing as just, well, let's write it out on paper and let's make it and put it out there and see what happens. That just doesn't happen. I can promise you that doesn't happen. We go through a lot of different stages in the process of knowing what works and how it works and will it work. A lot of things we try don't necessarily work all the time. So that's a benefit to know too. But when you think about um, these tubs, there's a process, and we've probably been working on these things for 3 years solid, doing formulations, looking at density, hardness. That's really the biggest thing about how much your horses will eat of these tubs is the hardness of the tub. So getting that part right is really, really important, as long as making it palatable and where the horse wants to eat it. So those are a lot of the things you want to really take into consideration. And we also want to make sure that if they eat a certain amount, they will get all their nutrient requirements met, or they will get enough of the outlast to actually make a difference, or they will get enough fat in their system or in their system to gain or maintain weight. That's what we're really trying to do. So we'll kind of get into that, but just looking at the consumption is a huge deal. So when you looked at different trials we did a lot of trials at our research facility in Gray Summit. Of course, that's where everything starts. So we were doing a lot of trials there, kind of dialing in the hardness of these tubs. Typically over 8-hour period of time, they'd eat a little over 1.3 pounds of this product. So then, you kind of move them along to a 24-hour exposure, and you would get into that 2.5, 2.8 portion. So just over time, when you're looking at this, not just that as a weekly or monthly, but over several months, the horses averaged about 2.1 pounds per day of consumption. So, they're not just standing there eating them all day and that's all they do. So, the biggest part about one of these self-fed products is horses in general just don't do well self-feeding. They don't have that off switch, or you can't use some of the limiters they use in cattle feeds, things like that. So with horses, it has to be, they just kind of get tired of whatever they're doing and move on to something else. So these tubs are handy for that, but then there's also some management that may go along with them. We'll talk about that. These tubs are developed to maintain body condition. They can, over time, they'll hold and even increase their body condition, providing they're getting enough of the tub or getting enough supplementation beyond what the tub is providing too. We did a lot of field trials with these. I was actually one of the salespeople that was involved in doing them here in Texas, and we had them in front of horses in Florida, Colorado, different areas, Missouri, of course, and what we tried to spread them out in different situations that would be realistic to your farm and how you would use them at home. We had horses in dry lots. We had horses strictly on pasture, no supplementation. We had all kinds of different breeds as well as disciplines involved. We had some, weanlings that were freshly weaned, dry lotted, that were, in groups that we did a trials with. We did one with some polo horses that were strictly on pasture that were looking, they were basically on a vacation. So they weren't getting a lot of work, but they also weren't getting fed other than the pasture. So these were really kind of a cool addition to those, and they these trials all seem to work very well. They seem to all these the key things about something like this is, will they eat it? You know, that's the first thing that has to happen. If they don't eat it, then no matter what else, no matter how cool the technology, no matter anything else, none of that matters, because you know, if they don't eat it, don't work, don't matter. So with that said, we got past the palatability part of it pretty easily, and then we were looking at consumptions and different ways to see, you know, how we could improve that. So um, seemed like the horse owners did like the size of the tubs and just the overall appearance. They look very neat. Um, One of the big things here again is a fly control in the tub. Many people feed the feed through fly control today. Central Life Sciences is who has the patent on this product and the Clarifly, and it's something that I think people don't understand, especially in the horse world. Cattlemen have been using it for many years to control flies on their cattle, of course, but horse people maybe not so much. We've kind of relied on a lot of other different fly controls, you know, in different situations, but this is another layer of fly control from a management standpoint that would be very helpful. I've seen this product work amazingly well in different horse barns through, you know, over the last several years where people did use it. But basically, this product, the Clarifly, it goes through the horse's system and gets deposited in the feces. You know, nothing stays in the horse. There's no, will not show up in a blood work. If you're at a show horse, nothing like that is ever going to happen. It's all in the feces, that's where the fly lays their eggs and kind of goes through the life cycle of the fly. So a lot of people want to know, you know, will this harm my horse? Is there some kind of poison or whatever you may want to call it? And the truth is, it's just not. The horse is just the carrier to get it to where it needs to be for when the fly's life cycle takes place. The fly lays the eggs in the feces, the eggs hatch, and then you have flies. With this, there it goes. The horse manure has the Clarifly in it. The eggs are laid, and it disrupts the cycle, the larva, and the fly cannot develop as it normally would. So basically, it's a larvicide, and it just breaks the life cycle of the fly itself. So really kind of neat technology, and it works really well, and that's what people want, no flies. So the one thing you want to make sure you're looking at is the right fly. You know, on the cattle side, the horn flies, face flies are really targeting. Now, this particular product won't help you with that, nor will this product help you kill horn flies. So the horse Clarifly product is designed to kill house flies and stable flies, which are predominantly what we're dealing with on the horse side of things. So, you know, it doesn't just kill everything out there. Different flies have different ways they reproduce and move on. So this one is definitely not going to help you with horn flies, but can take care of your stable flies and house flies. So that's a big deal, and that's really what you're worried about. What to expect at your farm? You know, this is the part that I really you know, wanted to get into and make sure everybody's on the same page, because, you know, expectations are, you know, can be a lot of different things. I would tell you, like for flies control, for instance, you're probably always going to have a fly or two, but you know, you have to be realistic about expectations. And so we don't say there's never going to be a fly on your farm, but we'll tell you that you will have drastically reduced the fly population. So behavior on the intake is one that it could vary a little bit. And what I have seen when we were doing field trials, and even today, is there's some factors that will affect how much intake they will do. You know, how much a horse will eat in a day. You know, the better your forage is, the less they will eat of it. The better. You know, sometimes it's all about where your placement is in the facility could have a big make a big difference in how much they consume of it. So when you look at forage, you know, whether you're feeding, you know, stored hay, dried hay, you know, the better the hay, they will eat better. So again, same thing with pasture, forage, any of that. It could range according to those factors. It also could a little bit of herd dynamics. You know, you always seem to have dominant horses and dominant animals in most every group. So, you know, kind of watch that. The size of where you have these, I know when we did our field trials, the horses that were dry lotted in a smaller acreage or smaller enclosures certainly did eat more of it than the horses that were out on larger pastures. There's no doubt about that. One thing we did learn a lot about was you know, where to put these tubs. I would tell you that you may want to put them close to your feeders or your water initially, but more than likely you'll need to move them to a little further away, kind of maybe somewhere that your horses don't go as much sometimes, just to kind of keep them from, you know, just eating it a lot. And if it's just there in front of them when they're just standing around, they may eat more than they truly need to eat. So look at it as a, you know, where you look at it. You may have to experiment with your facility to see how it works best. You know, initially, it's a novelty to your horses if they haven't had a tub in the past. You know, they might think this is pretty cool, and they just think, "Wow, I'm going to eat this up." But so you may want to watch that and kind of limit that chance to do that. And temperature also has an effect on consumption to some degree. When it's super hot outside, we did notice that the tub were, you know, they're a poured molasses-based tub, so the you know, it does get a little bit softer in direct sunlight. So sometimes you may want to move that to a shaded area if possible, and it wouldn't be as soft, and they wouldn't be able to eat as much of it. So, you know, behavioral stuff on the intake is something that, you know, I think if you haven't fed a tub, you know, there's going to be a learning curve there for all of them, and you'll figure it out very quickly on how to best do this so they get the right amount of product, you know. And you know, knowing how much your horse is eating is not that difficult. Basically, you can wait till the tub is empty, and if you know how many horses have been on it for how many days, and you know the tub weighs 55 pounds, you can do the calculations pretty darn quickly to know what your consumption rate is on it. Where do these tubs work best? You know, minimally managed horses, that's be horses out on pasture primarily. In my opinion, that's where minimum management is. People still like to feed them occasionally. You know, this could maybe replace a feeding. Instead of 2 feedings of grain a day, you could do 1 graining of feed a day, and let them have access to this tub. You know, open or early gestation brood mares, they're basically management. They're average on what their nutritional needs are. They're nothing really special at that point. Now, your last trimester of pregnancy is when your fetus is really developing, things like that. So you probably want to definitely provide more nutrition than what these tubs would do at that point. But you know, most of their time they're going to be a light requirement horse. So keep that in mind. Off-season performance horses turned out, you know, just kind of hanging out doing nothing. Those are the ones that could benefit from these two. You know, stressed horses that with the outlast in it, you know, they're licking it, they're consuming the outlast, keeping their pH of their stomach up into a neutral zone would be great. You know, easy keepers. A lot of times this would be all they need. There's certainly enough nutrition in it to supply all the protein, vitamin, and mineral, along with all the other cool pieces of this tub. You know, a lot of horses get along very well on very little feed, so you could just utilize this. You may want to watch for overconsumption. You know, also any horse, anything I would do, I would be watching the consumption just to make sure. You may have a boss horse that dominates it or something, but you want to make sure that you're getting it spread around as much as possible. When you go out of town, I was just in Fort Worth at the rodeo, and a lot of people from out of town in there, and they go, man, they were looking at it, and I go, wish we had one of these before we left town, because there's, depending on people to either feed their horses or they've turned them out in the pasture for a few days. This would kind of give you peace of mind that they are getting supplementation beyond the pasture, and everything would be just fine. So a lot of ways to use this, a lot of ways. So many horses could benefit from it. It's just, it's kind of up to you how you'd want to use it. When you look at nutrient and the technology in these tubs, when you look at, what does 1 pound of tub mean in all these different things is what this is telling us. So 1.25 pounds of Equitub equals a pound of Amplify, which is 2,000 calories per pound. A daily serving of Clarify will happen if the horse eats 1.5 pounds of this tub. Outlast, 200 grams for a 1,000-pound horse is the dose. So a horse eating 2 pounds a day of this tub would get all the Outlast he would actually need. So, and to meet nutrient requirements, 2 pounds a day, so you'd meet your protein, vitamin, and mineral requirements and be done with that. A pound of this tub also contains 1,500 digestible calories per pound. So there's your kind of breakdown on how that works. And that just shows you that target of 2.5 pounds per day of supplement 8, 2 to 2.5 is right on target with helping these horses meet all their nutrient requirements. So one of the big things that I have been asked about is sugar and starch. It is molasses based. So, man, that means all the sugar in it. Well, molasses does have sugar, but I understand that molasses comes from the sugar industry. So it's a byproduct of, cane sugar, sugar beets. So this is, they try to take as much sugar out of this, especially animal targeted molasses as they can. So, because if they leave sugar in it, that means they left money on the table. So when you look at the Equitub itself, it's a 31% starch sugar. Now, what does that mean? When you compare it to your feed, I would tell you that Omeline 200, a very popular sweet feed, is about a 42% starch and sugar. The Strategy, which is a pelleted feed, is about 20 to 22% starch and sugar. So it's kind of right in the middle of those two. So, if you look at the graph at the bottom of this slide, 4 pounds of Omeline a day, if you feed 4 pounds of Omeline, you're going to get 745 grams of starch and sugar. Compare that to 2.5 pounds of this tub, you're only going to get less than half that, 352 grams. So, the other thing to think about is this tub is going to be ate over a long period of time. So the glucose spikes with probably some of the lowest starch and sugar feeds would actually be higher than the glucose spikes with this tub, because they're going to be consuming it at a very, very slow rate. Whenever you have glucose spikes is when about any meal you feed, whatever feed you're going to feed, doesn't matter, you're going to have a glucose spike shortly after it. With these tubs, you're not going to have that, so it's going to be pretty consistent. The one thing that, I would tell you that if I did have a horse I was worried about that does have a sugar problem, Cushing's, laminitis, I wouldn't even offer this to them. It's not designed for that horse. There's no point in setting them up for failure. So I would not even think about using it on those guys. Just wanted to kind of share this with you. We have plenty of this information on our webpage, Purina.com. We have some great information, has all the details of it, how it works, where it works, that type of thing. Tells you the protein, fat, fiber, the whole thing. It's a 14 protein, 8.5 fat, 1,500 calories. Very, very, very nutritionally dense tub. We also have research reviews that we put on here and frequently asked questions. All this is available on our website. So if you have any time, you might want to look into that. There's some good information there to know how best to use it, and a little video on how to use it too. So always try to we are our company, our Purina, are very, very very strong on education. We want to know everything there is to know about everything, of course, but we want to give you, the consumer, the power and the knowledge too. And that's why I try to do as much education as possible, because the more you know about us, the better you will like our products and the thought and the process that goes into developing these types of products. And we're always looking for a new way to make things work, and there's always a process to that. So we have a lot of cool information on there, and we just really appreciate you taking the time to look at this, and hopefully you will take some of this stuff and maybe even try these tubs for your horses. I think they're going to be very, very popular. A lot of cool stuff in them. Horses seem to be really they really enjoy eating them, so they're going to be around for a while. So thank you, and if you have any questions, just give us a call here at the co-op, or reach out to any of us at Purina, and we will do our best to answer your questions.